Всім добрий вечір.
On behalf of the brave.
On behalf of every father and every mother.
Wings for freedom. On behalf
Of our warriors. And paves the way for a new history.
Hello and welcome to Tochnyi Weekly, the show that gets behind the headlines to discuss the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We have an excellent show for you today. We'll be having Daniele present his newest article. Please also hit like and subscribe. It really helps us out. It helps promote the stream. A lot of people see it that wouldn't otherwise see it. And then also check out our Twitter and our BlueSky. That's where we do most of our talking or posting about updates and stuff. And of course, we have our website. That's kind of the main, our main body of work. It's got all of the research from our researchers, and it's got a lot of great information like maps and technical information. So if you guys want to check out a lot of very useful, interesting information, check out Tochnyi.info. So yeah, if you're ready, we're happy to listen to your presentation.
Thank you very much, Joseph. So today I'm going to introduce essentially the work that has been published a few days ago on the Tochnyi website, which is titled "The Cost of Inaction: Russia's Defense Industry Redevelopment." Now, I probably will have to go through the article again because I found a couple of typos and I have to fix it. But the article is very, I tried to essentially condensate all the research that has been done in the background in the last few months, which honestly started with a study on the ammo depot in Russia, and then these in few weeks and months became a more extensive analysis on the defense industry, because we were able, thanks to several OSINT who worked on different aspects, we tried to reconstruct the entire architecture of the Russian defense industry. Of course, the article itself is just scratching the bare surface of an enormous iceberg, but we have much more data. I want to stress this. I'm going to try to publish this on the website. I don't know if in this, like a blog or like a simple list or a map, but there is a lot. So the article essentially is more like an appeal with facts in front of the reader. I don't know if you want to scroll down, but one of the first things that I showed is the map of part of Russia, the most western part, and I know it's not an interactive one; it's a screenshot. I'm currently working. To deploy on this article the current map, but still a little bit buggy, so I have to work a little bit around that. I'm waiting for Herland to come back. But the map show essentially on the left, you can see the various legions. Now in this map, you can see only the defense factories. We call this defense factory, but essentially are actual factory producing item, but also research center, which works primarily on defense product. And most of the targets that are within range are already hit by drones, or some in the case there is also some case where ATACMS has been used on especially on gunpowder, on some chemical factory. But unfortunately, most of the research center and most of the brain power is around and in Moscow. And essentially there is, I didn't show here the air defense system, but there is an umbrella, as you can imagine, around and within Moscow that makes this target very, very difficult to hit. And in fact, as you have seen from the news a few days ago, Bureau for Development of, I think was missile, has been subjected to a sabotage attack. And this is probably what we are going to see when these targets are hit. So this It's very difficult to hit them with a missile or drone. A missile is very difficult because at the moment they do not have Taurus. The blue, red, and green areas that you can see here are for Atacams, Storm Shadow, and Taurus. Hopefully, soon will become available, right, Gao? And the year, yeah. So, but I wouldn't bet anything for the use of Taurus on Moscow for different reason. Also because I guess that is very difficult to hit target in that region for the reason that I already mentioned, and also because most of the research centers are pretty much in highly densely populated areas. So this would be very, very risky for different reasons. So that the rest are more or less very much out range. Most of the powder factories, so essentially gunpowder factories, and most of the ammunition factories, apart the Tula one, which are close and in range, they are mostly very much outside range, but they are in range, of course, of drones. A little note, we have seen a lot of strike with drones, but you have to keep in mind that these factories, most of these are made in concrete and very strong building, and ironically, probably stronger than the ammo depot. So it's very difficult to take them down with just drones. So you need to hit a very specific infrastructure to try to cause a significant damage or to produce a damage that makes the plant not operative for a long time. So the article goes through a list of some of these, and you can just scroll down and you can see there are some example of items that are developed in some of the bureau around Moscow, but I would like to focus on Tambov powder plant. Tambov powder plant is essentially a very large facility. Once you reach, if you go a bit faster down, you will see, that one. That one is Dmitry Medved visiting the factory, the powder plant, and some of the expansion. As you can see, there is a lot of concrete. They are expanding a lot the site, and below you can see the extent of the plant. Now, the image is small, but if you go on the website, you will see that a lot of tree areas have been completely flattened, and there is a lot of new building, especially in the northern part in the Kyiv. So this site is very much on large development. And now these images, of course, are using Sentinel, so we don't have enough information on what is built, but everything is within the area of the plant. So these let us thinking that these plants have been subjected to large expansion in terms of how much they can produce. But sometime you have to understand that I see these just housing coming up, and you may say, "Oh, must be something different." But in reality, even in Europe, even Rheinmetall and many other companies hired the people, and then they have to allow these people to sleep and work there for different days in a very tight turnovers. So having the capability of hosting more people means that you are actively trying to produce more by allowing people to work more and allow more people to have a much faster turnover. So this is an indication which I saw in all the powder plant, all the ammunition site that has shown a sign of expansion. And some have imagery from Airbus, which have much higher resolution, and there you can definitely see this. In others, you have to guess based on roads and parking lots, essentially. Now, if you go a bit down, you can see Bryansk chemical plant. Bryansk chemical plant has been expanded as well significantly. They produce most of the propellant and most of the rocket artillery that nowadays we are very used to know, like from Grad, Uragan, Tornado, and also the TOS one, Buratino. So this factory, despite if you go on the website, looks like that they are not anymore involved in significant work for defense. They work mainly on defense. And if you go down, there is also more images about the plant, and essentially they do missile. So there is no other question about that. And these are recent, by the way. These are 2021. So these most of these missiles probably has been used in Ukraine, because another sad part of doing this type of research during the years, you can start to see also increase in size and also in activities on this site just few years before the war. Going down the paper and the article discuss about the impact of drone on some plants. For example, this is Alex Kinsky chemical plant, which has been hit many times. And in this particular case, I was trying to reconstruct the area where the strike occurred. And in particular, this strike demonstrate how it's very hard to inflict significant damage, because the area that has been hit, of course, was one for the filling of the powder. So this was this particular chemical plant produce explosives, and looks like that they hit one of the mixing areas, but overall the plant is so big that it's very difficult to take down an entire production facility with just one single strike. However, this is all done in an effort to slow down as much as possible this type of production. And but what is and then the article essentially goes along different side, honestly, showing a different type of factory, also instrumental and optical factory. So factory that produce precision engineering products. And if you go down, there is the Kazan plant. And this one is one of the stark example where you can actively see stuff being built. You have to go a bit down. Scroll down. Yeah, that one. So this is a Kazan precision production plant. And if you zoom, you will see through the clouds in different years from 2023, 2024, how there is an increase in working, in floor working around the plant. This is just an example. And this is a factory that produces precision scope and other several optical devices for laser signaling, but also night vision and thermals for tank, aircraft, and whatsoever. So this type of expansion is expected also because Russia is trying to rebuild its own tank and armored vehicle inventory, and they need these sensors that do not come anymore from the West. So this kind of match with what is happening and on the front line and what we are reading from different sources. Now, the article then goes on thermal powder plant, which has been covered a lot. I have to be honest, I didn't want to add too much, but one of the things that make me a bit sick about this plant is the presence of within the perimeter of thermal powder plant, which is a huge, very large installation that essentially produces ammunition and component for ammunition. We have the Iskra plant. You can go a bit below, and it's located within the perimeter. And this is a very large. You have to go down after this image. Yeah, that's one. This is Iskra plant. Iskra plant has been known since its inception during the Cold War as a plant that was producing essentially ICBM, ballistic missile, a lot of the missile that today we know or they are in museum were produced here. And the plant never stopped. You can recognize that this is an assembly line for missile, because if you zoom, you notice that it's made by a very long single building, and essentially what happened when you do integration of missile, especially large one, you start from the bottom and then you progress as an assembly line. And this allows the process to be quite flawless. And normally on the sides, on one side you have offices, other workshops in order to prepare engines, prepare sensor. So you have clean room. And you can see that since 2022, there was a systematic expansion, and this expansion is not even over now. Now, why this is so important and why I want to stress this point? Russia is expanding its industry. I mean, it's clear. This analysis is just another one that try to shine light on this. But this is a kind of plan that you are not expanding because you are at war with Ukraine. I mean, it's likely that they want to do this also because they need missile for Ukraine. But this type of missile, this type of plan, doesn't design short or medium range. This design also and produce also long range. So the point is that Russia is not probably preparing or thinking to prepare only for Ukraine or for a sustained war in Ukraine, but potentially for a confrontation with Europe. And this is why I think it's mandatory that any negotiation is not held now, because any negotiation, any ceasefire, any peacekeeping mission will not stop what we are seeing now. And as I said in the thread, when you look at this, you can zoom, you can look, you will see concrete, cold concrete. You may still, okay, these are just objects which produce a weapon. But then you have to do a step back and thinking that everyday people work in those buildings, and this building contains people who are working not on product that they are needed for their defense, but for their offense, in particular this factory, because these are medium range, long range ballistic missile and other. So these are not weapons of any kind of defense. These are offensive weapons. You can talk about deterrence, but Russia has demonstrated to be an aggressive country, a country that do not regard international law. And so when I see this as an engineer, as an passionate in missile, as an passionate in defense sector, I can't say that this is good. This looks like someone that is preparing. And what we are doing, we are offering them time to further prepare and further strength and start from a point of strength. So now then the article, of course, say also, is very important to keep in mind that all these factories, which you have seen working on, they are all sanctioned. So sanctioned work, but up to a certain extent. There are ways to circumnavigate them. And of course, without sanction, this factory probably would have been more effective. But think what could happen if US lifted these sanctions. It would be a very big blow, because all these factories, which are just a few, and I can guarantee you, I have a list that would probably not, we would stay here all night to look at each one. They are all sanctioned, more or less, but they are currently working while we speak. And for this reason, in the article, in the thread that I drafted, I tried to convey also this message that time is very important resources at this moment, and we should not be wasted in negotiation, a ceasefire, or whatsoever. I think one of the few things that I really appreciated of Olaf Scholz is that at the last meeting, is that he said, okay, but these negotiations, these peacekeeping first, it's not really important. We should just get more fund to Ukraine. Just send more resources so these people can fight and can win. We should, and it's very important, because at the end of all these shit show that the Americans are doing, that Trump's administration is doing, the Europeans have to come finally with a bloody objectives, because the military and even industry, which work with the military, needs an objective. If you tell me you have to prepare for war, I prepare for war. If you tell me you have to prepare for support Ukraine, I prepare to support Ukraine. And politics make sure that this can be done. But unless we don't have a clear plan, it's most important. I mean, sorry for I end up ranting a lot today, probably because it was a lot of time that I didn't any podcast. So if you have any question.
Yeah, so first of all, nobody complains about any rant here. I think that's a wonderful article and a wonderful presentation by you. So thank you very much for that. I actually have a question about these sanctions because I see that one plant, the Kazan plant, I don't know if I got that right, is like sanctioned by the US, but not sanctioned by the EU. And that's the only plant you listed where the EU and the US have not agreed on completely sanction it. Do you know why or?
No, I have no bloody idea about that. And I was going to investigate these. I know it's very, for me was like, I was suggested, why don't you look also on this? And the article was nearly done. So I decided, okay, let's look on Open Sanction, which is a very nice website, a very complete, and tells you, I mean, I only put US and EU, but most of these are also sanctioned by Canada, Japan. So when you see US and EU, most likely other nations have sanctioned. So it's, I don't know. I have to look at that. It's possible that simply is missing there or has not been announced or, you know, and also there is also another things. There are sanctions also on the person that own the plant. So that's another way to sanction. So I need to explore. I'm not an expert in sanction by any means. So I tried only to understand, are these factories working around the clock like they are and they are sanctioned or not? Because if they are not sanctioned, okay, something is wrong, but they are sanctioned. So I think it's even worse. Demonstrate that, okay, probably we are harming them a little bit. Maybe they would be much ahead, but that's bad because this means that there is, unless you completely blow up these places, there is no other way to intervene because how you stop them? Even if we reach a ceasefire, why Russia should say, oh, okay, I decide to stop all my weapon development? They wouldn't. You may say, neither do we. Really? Because I'm quite sure that if the war kind of frozen, I don't know. Maybe now because Trump made this U-turn, which is bad, but probably in the end it would be also good, and probably Colby will agree. Europe will finally decide to say, okay, maybe the fact that I'm one of the largest continent in the planet, with one of the strongest economy, I should do something on defense as well. But yeah, I don't have a clear answer to that, honestly, at the moment.
It's fine. Thanks for answering anyway. I don't.
The EU is allegedly preparing a new sanctions package. For the last 2 weeks, I read they're gonna do it. So I haven't reported it yet because it hasn't happened. But when it does, I will. So maybe they'll get it in the next round. I don't know.
Totally possible. Totally possible. Yeah. Consider that some of these Alensky's plant was very recent EU banned. It's not far away, like a few months. Was the last time they did the sanction? They did sanction also on people owning this plant and on the plant. So as you can see, I really don't know what in the EU and US as well is sometime probably just because there are so many.
Yeah. So thank you very much for your presentation, Daniele. And so we'll see everyone next week. Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава.
On behalf of the brave.